Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I am a twin flame channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the full moon in Libra, which took place on April 16th, 2022 at 2:54 p.m. Miami, Florida. Please check, this is the Eastern time zone for the United States. Please check a time zone converter for your local time. I want to just thank you guys for your patience and your grace. I know a lot of you have been wondering, is she going to put out that email or that video? When is it coming out? And sometimes I just have a lot of commitments offline and elsewhere that mean that I am working in other ways prior to the lunation. So I thank you so much for your patience and your grace with that. We have this full moon having occurred here at the 26th degree of Libra. And we have Sun opposite, which we always have at a full moon. And this one is an interesting one. We have some interesting energies. Many of them have to do with some of the asteroids. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the asteroids and how they're impacting this full moon energy. And this is a significant full moon. It's significant because we're now 30 degrees and about a month or so away from the eclipse, the next lunar eclipse on the Taurus Scorpio axis, and that'll be a lunar eclipse. And that lunar eclipse is going to facilitate, just like this full moon, some completions for a lot of people. And that particular lunar eclipse, I want to give you the date for it. So just give me a second. I'll give you the date. Table of eclipses. I want to give you the date for it because some of you are going to start to feel this eclipse energy now. The things that are coming with that eclipse, the closings, the completions of certain cycles, those closings and completions can be felt pretty palpably about 30 days out. And for some of you, this is a closing by degrees. So there may have been a significant closing that happened in the fall of 2021, where there were completions and endings as the Venus retrograde occurred November, December, January. And so Venus has now completed her retrograde cycle fully. She's moved on. She's in a whole other sign doing some new things. And then, not to mention, now we have this eclipse that is going to facilitate further closings, further completions on that Taurus Scorpio axis. So the last eclipse on the Taurus Scorpio axis was November 19th. So just before the American Thanksgiving holiday at 27 degrees of Taurus. This is now a pairing eclipse. We have at 10 degrees of Taurus a solar eclipse. So that'll be a little bit of a new beginning, followed immediately by an ending on May 15th, lunar eclipse, 25 degrees Scorpio. So for those of you who are curious how this will impact you, of course, you can always book a reading. There's some space available in my calendar if you'd like to do that. But this is kind of a beginning. This is a lead up to some of that energy, some of that, what we're about to see happen there. And here we have this full moon at 26 degrees of Libra. And we have, where is it? In conversation with this full moon, we have Saturn. Saturn here is having, and we have Juno. She's a major asteroid having a conversation with this full moon. And the conversation they're having is called a trine. It's a 120 degree angle. And the trine energy facilitates harmony where it is, interestingly enough, it facilitates harmony, but the kind of harmony that Saturn brings to the table is the harmony that is getting into alignment with our own boundaries, our own integrity, what is and what is not, where we're meant to be, whom we're meant to be around, that kind of thing. Full moon in the relationship and partnership sign. This is a completion, I'd say, of cycles where you may have been out of alignment, with where and with whom you're meant to be around partnership style at this time. Juno is the partnership asteroid. Saturn, when paired with Juno, the two of them make commitment energies. Aquarius here is the sign of the people. It is the sign of that which is, how do I put it? For the good of all, for the good of everyone. And when we have these two energies speaking in harmony with a full moon in a culminating cycle, what we have is an energy of certain, at this time, certain relationship endings, certain partnership endings, certain pathways that you've been walking with certain people diverging. Could be a habit within yourself that you have with people, that coming to a close, certain ways of interacting, completing, so that something new can start to arise as we move into this eclipse cycle. As I said, we do have a new beginning eclipse coming up fairly quickly here on April 30th. That's a solar eclipse, and that'll be a new beginning energy at 10 degrees of Taurus. And this is really what we've had from the Venus retrograde, the last eclipse cycle, November and December through now, is a lot of the clearing of the way. It's been a sweeping, if you will, for many people to move aside that which isn't aligned, isn't congruent with who you really are at this time, or with whom you're around. It's just never going to be what you need it to be in integrity with yourself. Those things coming to close, completion, ending, so that new things can begin to formulate here in the next cycle. So there's a lot of tension with this full moon, and this tension, it's really felt specifically because square to this full moon, we have Pluto. Pluto is at the 90-degree angle, the square to the full moon. And at that 90-degree angle, Pluto doesn't give all of its best. It gives a lot of its shadow. And with Pluto squaring this full moon, the energy you may have noticed in yourself and in others, Pluto deals with the underworld. This may have been things unresolved coming back up to the surface at this time, so that you can get final clarity, final resolution. The things unresolved may have to do with Plutonian themes. These are things like, what should I say, fear, manipulation, our shadow self, power and control issues, things we'd like to keep hidden, coming up to the surface so that we can deal with these things, so that we can come back into integrity, so that we can draw bright lines and boundaries around how we're showing up and how we are allowing others to show up in our space. And so you may have noticed that people may have been a bit touchy at this full moon in Libra. You may have noticed that within yourself, because there's a lot of discomfort going on with, it's meant to be uncomfortable. Where, you know, that saying, like, not that saying, but like the design of human life, let's just put it this way. The design of human life and the human organism, all organisms really here on earth, is to move away from pain and to move toward pleasure. And that is so that we can sustain life. That's the grand design here. It's meant to preserve life. And so at this time, you may have been very clear about things that are very uncomfortable or even painful in your world. And it's because at this time they are supposed to be coming to culmination, coming to completion. It's because at this time we are supposed to be moving away from those kinds of things. And so the sensation of that may have been quite loud, not just because of that Plutonian aspect there to this moon, but also because we have, where is it? We have Eris and Aries, and that particular placement is going to bring forward a lot of our pain. And I'll show you that one second. And she is here sitting pretty much right next to the sun being the illuminator of this full moon. When you have Eris and Aries speaking to a lunation like this, Eris brings the energy of chaos. She brings the energy of discord and strife. But she does that because she's been excluded somewhere, some way. Life hasn't been there for her. And so she makes a little bit of noise, actually a lot of noise, when things don't sit well with her. And so Eris in a major component, as a major component of this full moon, Pluto as a major component of this full moon, Saturn as a major component of this full moon, and Lilith, sorry, not Lilith, Juno as well. You put all of this together, and it's just a recipe for people feeling a bit like, you know what, I've had about enough of this, and I've had about enough of you, and I'm going to step over here. So there could have been some instances, and may still be in this coming week, some instances of lashing out, some themes around control. You may notice some themes around people who want to stay connected, trying to police you into being connected with them, where you may be trying to let go, or vice versa. You may find yourself wanting to police other people into how they need to connect with you, because it's just been so uncomfortable. And unfortunately, this energy of this full moon in Libra, and you kind of leading up to this moment and then exiting from this moment, this energy doesn't talk a lot about being able to figure it out. It talks a lot about taking a good hard break, taking a time out, taking some opportunity to collect oneself, grow oneself, focus on oneself. And in so doing, it allows things to shift in the way that they are meant to, if in fact there is discord bubbling up. So I talk about this a lot in my videos. And it's something that may not actually make sense if you're not actually a practicing astrologer, or you just didn't understand geometry. But what we have here is a T square. See the T shape here, between Pluto and cardinal sign Capricorn, moon in cardinal sign Libra, and sun in cardinal sign Aries. When you have a T square, the way to resolve the tension of the square, and there's tension in the air right now, you may have really felt it. When it comes to the energy surrounding this lunation, power struggles, power squabbles, a lot of tension between the I and the we and the me. What you see with this kind of energy is people searching to find their way and recognizing the discomfort of being where they're at. And with Cancer being the unoccupied of the 4 cardinal signs, Cancer, we can occupy that energy with our free will. And in occupying Cancerian energy, we can find relief, we can find solution, we can find truth. Cancer asks us to look at our emotions. How do we actually feel? To come home to our heart, to operate in emotional alignment and emotional integrity, to let what we say and what we feel, what we do and what we feel, be congruent, to let there be no mismatch between those two things. And so, because this is such a touchy time, you're going to find this week, the preceding week, there may have been some moments where people whom you love, whom you adore, people you're connected to, or just things you've seen online, where people are, really struggling because they don't know how to be with their emotions. They don't know how to be with their feelings. And so you'll see a lot of coming out sideways of emotional challenge. You'll see a lot of, lashing out, wanting to be punishing to other people, wanting to, quote, put other people in their place, correct them, so that you can stem off your own discomfort. But what's actually happening is a clarion call to look at the discomfort or the uncomfortable place, so that you recognize what direction is actually incorrect for you. It's an opportunity to see with crystal clarity. Oh, this hurts because I'm not supposed to be here right now. I'm supposed to be doing something else. Got it. So it's a bit of an eye opener for some people, that it's time to take your fingers off the steering wheel of what other people are going to do and how they're going to be in your world. Because you can't control that. You can only control yourself and how you respond to things. So there's some self-righteousness to this energy, and a lot of people feeling very justified in the way that they're showing up and the way that they're behaving. You may see this. And there's also, for those who are, operate more, have more facility with their emotions, meaning what you feel, you're able to say it, you don't shut down, you lean into it, and you have language around articulating what's happening for you. And you can say it in such a way that doesn't push people away or completely shut the connection down. You'll find that this is an opportunity where you get to own a lot of your power in connection. And there's a lot of power in that vulnerability and that ability to confront ourselves, confront our own fears about what's happening in the connection. There's a lot of power to confront some of our own darkness. Now, for some of you, this is going to be playing out in the work world. And you may find that there are people in the work world, I'm from a particular generation, you may find people who are just power tripping at work, just straight up power tripping. And you may find that this comes as a direct function of their goals and ambitions, maybe being thwarted in the industry or in the company that you work with. You may see some of that going on. And where they feel kind of held back. And so they want to take it out on everyone around them. That's not funny. It's actually quite frustrating. I've been in that situation where I've seen people respond that way to me. And I'm like, look, dude, I'm not your problem. You are actually not supposed to be doing this. That's your problem. But, being on the receiving end of that can be really difficult. So where you can have some grace with people, where you can have some forgiveness, and where you just plain old need to draw some boundaries and make some distance around people behaving certain ways in your space because they can't deal with themselves and their own trajectory well enough, their own emotions well enough, that's fine too. Grace, compassion, forgiveness, boundaries, and timeouts. That's going to be the best way to work with this energy, and to really, whatever you do to get in touch with yourself emotionally, whether it's journal or EFT or watch certain movies that help bring the emotions up and out of you so they don't get stuffed down, or talking to a friend who knows how to ask really good questions. These are the ways that you can work with this energy so that you can be present to what Pluto is asking of you, because Pluto is asking you to own a certain amount of your power. But in order to do that, it is going to be required to lean into a certain amount of your vulnerability, at least with yourself for the time being. Okay. There's a real need to have that happen so that forward movement can occur. Like I said, if you want to have a look at some of this, there is some space in my calendar. I've got one session, 30 minutes available at the tail end of this month. If you want to have a look, and then we're booking into May, and we can talk about the eclipse season, because once we hit May, eclipse season will be upon us for sure. Okay, exciting stuff. Let's talk about some of the other energies at this lunation. We have an energy here of Jupiter conjunct Neptune. Now, I know some of you are feeling this, especially if you are one of the water signs, or perhaps you might be one of the mutable signs. You're probably going to feel this more than the energy I just spoke about. You may have listened to what I just shared and be like, I don't know what she's talking about. Everyone's cool in my world. Or I'm feeling, everything's feeling really jazzy and beautiful. And that would be because of this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. which I love to see. Whenever you have this, especially in Pisces, oh my gosh. So this conjunction began about a week ago, and it's brought in this really peaceful, dreamy, faith filled, optimistic energy. Especially, like I said, if you're one of the water or the earth signs, if you're one of the mutable signs, Pisces, Gemini, Virgo, Virgo, and Sagittarius. If you're one of these mutable signs, you may find that that's for you, it just makes you feel a bit ungrounded. It can make you feel a bit like foggy, and like certain things just aren't clear in your world in the way you'd like them to be. Like you're grasping for clarity and it's hard to reach. Um, but for generally, I think most people are kind of feeling this like faith, hope, and optimism energy that this is providing. And it's such a gift and such a challenging time for humanity. Where the pandemic still rages on, and we're in this place of needing to figure out, okay, so what do we do? We're 2 years into this life changing event. What do we do with our lives now? Is life ever going to go back to the way it was? Do I need to just adopt to a completely new normal in my work, in my family, in my living situation, and the way that I make my money? And if so, how can I find a way to do this that's going to be sustainable? These are some of the questions that you're going to be dealing with over the course of this particular Jupiter Neptune conjunction. And some of it is going to make it difficult to land clarity, to stick the landing on a direction, and that's okay. This Jupiter Neptune conjunction gives us some faith about things working out, even if we can't see the how or the when. It gives us some opportunity to feel something to feel optimistic about, and a little bit of trust that the unseen world and whatever you believe in has your back at this time, even though it may be hard to see it in the outer world circumstance. This is probably some of my favorite energy because it's just giving people the opportunity to feel an awakening a little bit, like, and a little bit of faith. Like, I'm trusting that this is going to be okay, even if I don't know the way. And that Jupiter Neptune conjunction is also sextile Pluto. And so there's an opportunity with these two in the sextiling angles are 60 degrees apart. They give you that chance where if you decide to apply your effort, if you decide to apply your mind to this, you will find that there's power in this faith for you. It's a very active type of faith energy. It's a faith in action type of energy with Jupiter sextile Pluto and Neptune sextile Pluto as well. There's this energy of, okay, I see this is what's working. I see this is what's not. And there's almost like a gentle surrender into it if you're willing to just have some faith and some trust that things will work for you. So it's a really lovely energy. I do like to see that. And that Jupiter Neptune conjunction is one of the major themes for the year. It is going to be with us for a little bit longer before it shifts, before Jupiter moves forward more fully. So we got about, let's say, maybe a month of them being close enough to have that kind of influence on us. And sometime mid-May, late May is when this energy shifts. Additionally, we have Mercury conjunct Uranus at this period of time inside Taurus. Taurus is an earth sign, so we're really talking about the third dimension. And these two together can bring a lot of surprises in the third dimension. Taurus talks about the body. There can be some surprises with the body itself as well. Interestingly, there can be surprise messages in the physical mail, literally, not necessarily the email, but some surprise messages, things that come through in the mail with this kind of energy. But there's also a bit of like mind body surprises, like things you discover about your body that you didn't see coming. There can be some financial surprises as well. Taurus can represent the physical body in terms of money in the third dimension. But this combo of things, especially because there's Venus involved here, this combination by a sextile can bring some financial surprises, some expenditures or costs that you perhaps didn't see coming, some money going out that you didn't realize you would need to spend. And simultaneously, I would say with these aspects, the money's probably there. It's just a matter of potentially being quite creative to figure out how to access it. This could also be with Venus involved in the mix, some surprises and turnarounds in love as well. People who were together, who are not, people who are not together, who get together, people meeting people kind of out of the blue that, you know, have an ability to kind of like sweep you off your feet, or you know, just like surprise or chance meetings with people that really allow you to deepen an aspect of self-love, honestly. And that's actually going to be a really good thing at a lunation like this, which has a lot of tension in our interactions with others. This particular aspect of it can help facilitate some clarity about why you fit with some people, but not with others, why it makes sense with some people, but not with others. And this can be in the world of work or projects, creative projects, but I would say this really looks to me a lot like love, where this is probably taking place for the majority of the collective. Just to wrap up, the energy here, there's a couple of other things that they may seem insignificant, but they're definitely playing a role to why we have some of this kind of tension with people, even with people you may normally get along with. We do have Mars in conversation with Lilith, both in water signs. Which is just ratcheting up the emotional tension for a lot of people. We've got Mars in Pisces, Lilith in Cancer. And that combination together, I want to say that Lilith they can bring out more of, one of them is fine, but when you have them both together, they can bring out more of their shadow sides as opposed to their light sides, even though they are in a trine. Lilith really deals with a lot of our rejection wounds, what it means to be rejected by other people. Lilith also deals with a lot of the ways in which we feel like, okay, we want certain things to play out a certain way. And if they can't, we're going to walk away, cut it off, let go. And Mars just amplifies that because Martian energy is very action oriented. It wants to move on things. It doesn't want to wait and see or be patient, even though it's in a sign of why don't you wait and see and be patient. That combination with Lilith via the trine isn't allowing, it's not really going to allow Mars to do so. So you may see some knee-jerk reactions in yourself or in others at this time. And frankly, my strong advocacy would be to pay attention to the sensation and what it's informing you about in terms of what you need. And then wait, let Mars have less of a conversation with Lilith before you pull the trigger on drastic changes. Now, if you've already pulled the trigger or somebody else already has with you, my strong suspicion with this particular energy is that there will come a time at some point this year where you may regret, or they may regret, the rash actions taken around this April full moon in Libra. And that's okay. This faith, hope, and optimism energy is going to support you to find the forgiveness in that for yourself and for other people, and to make the appropriate amends at the appropriate time. Likewise, if you are kind of clear, because what's happening with this culminating full moon in Libra, what's coming to close, what's coming to completion at this time, honestly, this even though Uranus is in the mix with Mercury and surprise communication, this isn't news what's coming to a close. Uranus brings surprises, and the communication might be a surprise. It may have blurted out of you kind of at the wrong time or kind of out of nowhere or out of them. But this has been whatever is coming to completion at this time, the ending has been brewing. Even if it seems to come out of nowhere at this time, it's been brewing for some time. And so, this Mars Lilith thing, for some people who may really struggle to be in emotional integrity, this may be just the kick in the pants you need in order to draw some lines, create some boundaries, step away from some things that may be really unhealthy for you at this time. And that's okay. If this is how you need to do it, bright fire underneath the butt to get you in gear and moving, then do what you got to do. Trust your process, trust the way it's unfolding. But for those who are really recognize the fire burning and you're not quite sure, because things haven't been brewing, but you're starting to feel a level of discomfort, lean into this comfort, have the grace, look for the communication to yourself about your emotions, and then try to have a constructive conversation with some others as we move forward. And that would be the way I would use this energy. Okay, just looking around the wheel to see if I missed anything of import, like super deep import here. No, just this. We have Saturn squaring the nodes. This actually is really important. With Saturn squaring the nodes, as you guys know, the North Node is what we are moving toward in terms of our learning. The South Node is what we're moving away from. When you have a planet squaring the nodes directly, this brings some tension because that planet that's squaring the nodes is informing us of what's going to be required in order to learn the North Node lesson. North Node is sitting in the sign of self-respect and self-value. That's Taurus. Saturn here is talking about having boundaries with people in your world, specifically friends, having some boundaries with some folks that you may be connected to in a tribe kind of way, and recognizing that there is necessary at this point in order to love yourself adequately to draw some boundaries at this time, to look for some integrity at this time, to call forward some integrity in the way we're being with other people, where there has been, self-erasure, self-exclusion. This particular full moon in Libra with the sun conjunct Eris is giving us a bright no mas. You will not exclude yourself anymore. You are a part of the we, the us. You can't lay yourself down on the tracks and be run over by somebody else's issues any longer. And so this Saturnian influence here is asking us to have a bit more integrity in the way we're allowing people to be in our space and in the way that we're being with other people as well. It's asking us to do a bit more self-care. And that's only echoed by, this is a fixed T-square. There's 3 placements in fixed sign. South Node is in Scorpio. North Node is in Taurus. The squaring element here is Aquarius. This all is only echoed by Leo energy here. The Leo energy here has this energy of just recognizing, like, yeah, okay, Leo wants to put its own oxygen mask on first, and it's really focused on what's in its own best interest. And so where you find that you need to draw some lines with people because it's just not in your best interest to work with them in the way that you have, to partner, to collaborate, to be in community with them in the way that you have, this particular full moon in Libra would be indicative of, it would create the urge within you to draw those lines at this time. So, where it's wanting to come out sideways, Take some time with yourself, give yourself some grace, have some conversations with yourself or with some friends or with a journal to get some clarity about what is this tension in me before you take it out on other people. Talk about it with yourself and then talk about it to them once you've gotten that clarity within yourself. And then where you see other people's stuff coming out sideways with you, like I said earlier, compassion and grace, forgiveness, and of course, boundaries as you need. Thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and sharing. If you heard something that resonates, I encourage you to hit that like button and subscribe. I'm here at the new and the full moon with updates about how to use the energy to serve light, to serve love. And I am excited to continue to be here for you. Take great care and bye for now.